All right, it works, it works, it works. Can y'all hear me pretty good? Hello, hello. Can y'all hear me all right? Yeah? Yeah? All right, cool. Yeah, I'm having to rig shit up here. So, as I was doing it a few minutes early just to, PJ, uh, yeah, just to make sure we got a good connection and all that good shit. So, I rigged up a little wooden rack here with the E-tool to put the phone on. So, might get a little wobbly here. But, I figure y'all might dig seeing a sunset, but it is bright as shit. That should chill out. If it's too bright, just put your sunglasses on. No big deal, right? Ugh. So yeah, this is gonna be pretty damn thrown together here. So I figure while I cook and while I drink beer, I can just kind of shoot the shit with y'all. Kind of like if we was just kind of hanging out. So hopefully that'll be good with y'all. And if this fucker times out, I will be sure to restart it. So yeah, figure let everybody kind of get in first before I really get to rocking and rolling. Yeah, fucker. There you go. Yeah, cheers. Whew. What day? It's Monday, isn't it? Or is it Tuesday? It's a weekday. So, guess, thanks for coming by during your work day. Because I know a lot of y'all are 9 to 5, 7 to 3:30, 6 to 5, a.m. and p.m. So, you know, thanks for, stopping by. So, yeah. So yeah, I guess while I'm breaking up sticks here and all that primitive savage shit, I'll just keep waiting for everybody to pile in. Yep. You got your joints of ether already. Yeah, you won't be around long. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, hopefully everybody will pile in, and hopefully the internet will bear with us. Been having pretty good luck here lately. They must have put like a satellite up or some shit, or maybe it's just the time of the year and everything just kind of aligned for us, So that's pretty cool, if that is indeed the case. Alright, hopefully everybody's having a good summer thus far. I know I am. I don't even like cold weather. I live in Colorado, but I tell you, for as much as I hate cold weather, that sun definitely shines here even when it's cold. And it's pretty damn good, you know. But summertime here is epic. Yeah, me and Skunk VA were joking last week about the humidity. We like say like, like no matter what, it doesn't matter what happened in your day, you're just like, oh well, you know, we still have that, southeast humidity, so kind of like a running joke. Everybody from there is always like, well, at least there's no humidity. Like, yeah, damn sure ain't. But yeah, let's see here, 262. Yeah, that's looking about right. I don't know what time it is. I'd imagine we're getting pretty darn close. Let the sun get down a little bit more too, and get this little small fire, just enough to get some coals going and cook a little something, you know what I mean? Just bullshitting around. But yeah, it's East Coast time, 10:05, 10:02. Yeah, so yeah, looks like yeah, all right. I think we're pretty good on people coming in there. Texas, Blazing Peanut. I didn't know that's where you was. You be careful. Don't mess with Texas. That's what they say. I had a lot of friends there back in the day, man. Like, I was like, man, hectic, It's like Virginia, but just, way down south. What up, Christian? Yo, hold on. Oh, I gotta fuck with you. Where's the Wicked Fire Starter? Figure you'd like that. That's a good one. Yeah, exactly. By the time your text come through, like, yes, right here. Spucky. Yeah, it's wicked, alright. It's that big ass half-inch diameter ever leaving ferrite things. Whew. Man, it's nuts. Like, I mean, I'm gonna grind all this up real fine, but would strike off that sucker, man. That woo, so and keep it small though. Just trying to cook up a little something. Yeah, and Rocky Mountain High and Golden Eagle there. Don't worry, I'm not gonna burn down the valley like that fucking guy. He was like fucking Dutch or something, but whatever. So yeah. So like I said, we're just gonna kind of bullshit. So like, if you're all like pen and pad and like sitting down and like got your smart person glasses on and all that shit, like, I don't know, it might not be exactly what you're thinking. We're just gonna kind of sit here and kind of bullshit about soil, doing our thing, growing, and just kind of like the whole basis of it, and whether or not like, how you think about things, because it's like those Rorschach tests. Everybody can see something different. Maybe the way I look at doing something might be the way you might look at something. We all look at something different. So we used to call ours like information exchange. We're all kind of like, we're fucking sponges, and we can absorb something off of our collective brain pool. I didn't come to where I am and growing by just like being born. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, fucking, I know this shit. right? Like, it came from me fucking up and fucking up and fucking up and fucking up. And sometimes the fuck ups are like, yeah, that's fucking great, I'll know not to do that. Other fuck ups were like, oh shit, like, I can replicate that, right? Like, it doesn't have to be by happenstance. So, like, when we were, lots of things I've done in my life, like, like weed is like, anybody who like knows me well knows, like, this is like a very small thing, portion of my life, what I've done with my life and everything. So, what we want things to happen with purpose. We don't want to leave things to happenstance. We want to be able to control things, right? And what we want the plant to do is a little bit different than what he or she wants to do. Because female plant, its idea is like, I wanna reproduce. I want to get pregnant. I want to make seeds. I want to continue on. It doesn't know that it's being cloned and cloned and cloned and cloned. So what we fucking flies, man. Must be the shit, huh? So, we don't want to leave things to happenstance. We want to be in control of what's going on from the environment that we're growing in, which to me is like crucial. Like, that's your starting point, having that perfect environment. And that's a huge broad subject too. That could get into engineering, electrical, HVAC, and all that stuff. But once you get down to that part, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is what's up. This is what we're gonna do here. And you're like, yeah, we're good. Then it's genetics. Does the genetics suit your environment? And not as far as like temperature and humidity is concerned, but height restrictions and stuff. And then as the effect what you're looking for in your life. Whether it's a number of fucking things. Like, is it a medical thing? Is it a sleep thing? You just like to feel a certain way. I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons. So, that all comes into play. Alright, that ought to be fine enough. And there, you little bastard. And, we get to that point, and then it's like, okay, well, now what do we do? How are we going to go about growing this plant? You're going to be a hydro person? Now, I can't totally knock it. I had a friend who had immune system problems. So with those immune system problems, sucker, going down quick. We couldn't grow all organics for him because, microbes and all these things, he's worried about getting sick. So in his case, that was just part of it. Now, I've grown hydroponic in the past. It was always a biomass concern with me. It was back in the day. I never did it as a quality thing. Now, I found ways to enhance the quality by supplementing organics and all that stuff, but a lot of it, it was a time constraint. I was crazy as shit, going all over the state or wherever I happened to be at that time. And, I was fucking nuts, so I'd have grows set up all over the place, because in them days you couldn't just throw down, all in one spot. The damn power company'd fucking knock your ass out. So, it wasn't smart. So it allowed me to time things to where, I could just basically come back on a weekly basis, do res changes, and I was just rolling, you know what I mean? Now, get into the genetic part of it. Back then I was growing sour diesel, and there are certain things that'll shine really hard either way, and there are other things that won't shine, you know. So, but overall, I'm gonna go ahead and say that my best luck for quality was always with the organics. So, come on, sticks. Stay the fuck up there. No balancing act. What was that game kids play? Was it Lincoln Logs? Yeah, whatever. But, so that's where most of my focus, as far as growing, that's kind of where it was. So, we start off with, it all starts off a certain way. You're either doing something as a result of your own research. Maybe you knew somebody before you that was something of a journeyman of sorts. There's a lot of different names for that, but something got passed along to you, and depending on your journey and your life's experiences, maybe you know more than one person like that. And over time, maybe you knew a shit ton of people like that. And basically, that's what led me to where I am today. Now, we can take something non-growing related. Pretty sure everybody knows who Bruce Lee is. Yeah, he's a bad motherfucker. And everybody associates Bruce Lee with the Kung Fu. And yeah, he did know, I think it was Wing Chun Kung Fu, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mispronunciating that, but no, I'm not all there all the time. But nonetheless, he was like the master of picking what worked for him from a whole bunch of different disciplines. This is like way before UFC and MMA. Like, he was like one of the first like true MMA type people, because he would take things from different disciplines and work it into his schedule, how it worked for him. And the result was a badass, right? So that's kind of like where my thing is. And, I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh yeah, I'm a master grower. Like honestly, that doesn't fucking exist. I was a carded licensed master electrician, but I was like, no way. Yeah, that's what the card says, but no. Like the closest person ever to that was Nikola Tesla, and even he would tell you like it's something like you can't master that. So but I guarantee you, I will continue learning the rest of my days, right? So long as you keep that mindset and you're picking up what you can, what works for you, and start at a certain place, and start introducing the next thing. That way you have a good baseline. If something got better or it got worse. The other thing I'm going to say, only change one thing at a time. That way, when it comes to like troubleshooting, all that shit, you're gonna be kind of where you want to be. Okay, so all right, so we'll start there. Now, with technology, right? A lot of new people growing, with changes in laws and so on and so forth. One would think the quality of weed will become better and the quality of the grower will become better, when in fact it is quite the opposite. Like weed is getting shittier. Okay, the average grower is getting worse, and not actually devolving, right? They evolved to a certain point and stopped. Okay, so like the best weed that they know is part of their experience, right? So like if you ate fucking T-bone steaks at a truck stop every day in your life and you're like, yeah, well, this steak is like the best ever. Well, you're fucking wrong. You've never been to Ruth Chris, right? Um, it's totally based on your experience. So in a society of mediocrity, mediocrity becomes what is accepted and the baseline of what is good versus what is bad, right? So one may say, yeah, I'm like doing like super, super good. But in reality, some people would agree. And then, especially nowadays, the minority would say like, hey, that's complete fucking dog shit, right? But we don't, because like people are real sensitive nowadays. So you try to say it in the nicest way possible. So that being said, um, it's actually like if you're into psychology and stuff like that, you read books or you ever read into it and shit. There's this thing, it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Dunning Kruger, Krueger. I'm surprised I can spell my name, but Google ought to fix the rest of that. But the Dunning-Kruger effect, should look it up. To sum it up, it's basically where large groups of people think they're better at something than they actually are. Right? It's a real thing. Look it up. Uh, internet will tell you so. So, Dunning-Kruger effect, and like that's kind of where we are right now. We're like in like the biggest example I've personally ever fucking seen. You know, um, yeah, yeah, it's like Freddy Krueger. The last part. I think it's spelled the same way. But anyhows, I'm surprised I can read even. Um, so now Dunning-Kruger effect. Here's where we are. Now the thing is like everybody's susceptible to it. I remember a long time ago, I was like, yeah, you know, fucking kicking ass. I was not kicking nor kicking ass. I thought I was kicking ass because I was better than what was around me, what I had experienced up to that point. Nowadays, I'll still tell you I ain't worth a fuck, I do alright. I do pretty good. But, I do think, yeah, absolutely, there's definitely better people out there, doing something. And the other thing is, in this era of technology, people read a lot. Like, oh, yeah, I read this white paper. Oh, yeah, I did this, I did that. Well, knowledge is power, and that's fucking great. But if you haven't actually put it to the test, see what works, see what doesn't work. What works for you might not work for the next person. It goes back to the whole knowledge without mileage. It's fucking bullshit, right? Like, you could be out here with me right now. Like, you might watch fucking Rambo and fucking Les Stroud and a whole bunch of shit. Read a whole bunch of goddamn books and like, oh yeah, let's do it up. And I'm like, all right, well, go over here and, set up your tarp or whatever you're going to sleep under tonight, right? And, oh yeah, I got all the gear, man, at the most expensive everything. Like, all right, we'll hop to it. Well, if you don't know the basics, like, you can't tie a fucking bowling knot and a trucker's hitch, across two anchor points. Well, guess what? You ain't gonna be sleeping too fucking good tonight. So people will tend to overlook the basics, and having no experience in something or practice will become these, proclaimed experts, right? So I think like if we could all just, just say like, yeah, do well, but, we could always learn more, and actually go through the motions of like, hey, does this work? Does this not work? We'll be in a better place. So, that being said, we will talk more about the soil thing. I like this fucker. Come on. Come on, you bitch. It's all wet. Oh, my beer. Get you out of the way. I had a little bit of rain. Everything's kind of damp. Come on. Kind of hard to fucking get this new rod going here. Come on, fucker. Burn. Come on. I hear you laughing over there, Christian. My little throw together. Shit. Come on, there we go. Just try not to knock over my little twigs, buddy. So, you hush. So, for our baseline here of our soil, I've always been, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to walk through what I do and maybe a little bit of why I think it. All right. So, my base, I'm a big fan of peat moss, man. Big fan. My go-to brand was always Pro Mix, Always was a big fan of that stuff. And always started there. Now, when it came to mixing the soil, a big old tarp or, maybe a swimming pool. I always hate to say that nowadays. I know, Jill, you're over there laughing probably. But, we had our ways of mixing, and those ways of mixing, I even thought about that later. Like, well, certain things are heavier, and you're mixing all this big bulk of soil and everything. Wouldn't it be better, if you got the time and all, to maybe like break it down pot by pot, right? So, to me personally, that like sounded a whole hell of a lot better. So with that being said, I started doing that. Now, I used to mix shit up any old way, but that tended to be better. Other like, rules of mixing soil and what we're gonna, do and look to accomplish, aeration, right? The rule of thumb was always like, you want 30%, Now, that's the thing, man. Like, yeah, I mean, yeah, you do want that, but maybe, not everybody's growing indoors. Maybe some people are growing outdoors. And I'm not talking in a greenhouse or some hoop whalebone shit. Like, maybe you're straight up going in the fucking woods, like, not trying to get caught. Okay? So, maybe you're not able to just walk in your backyard and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna go water these plants. That might not be feasible, or you're just looking to get pop. So maybe, maybe a little more aeration if you're getting in a spot where it's raining a lot, you're going near a swamp, or flood area or something, or maybe there's long points of drought. Right? And during these long points of drought, it'd be nice if it retained a little moisture. So maybe we're gonna add a little vermiculite to it. So I really think that when it comes to your mix, like, people don't take into account a lot of other things besides like plant nutrient, you know. And I think, that definitely helps. And then also take into account, like, all right, so if I'm not able to sit there and, you know, um, water these things and make teas and all that, I need to make sure that this soil is loaded down. Like, it needs to be able to kind of sustain itself, Maybe I'm only able to go out there once a week or once every 2 weeks, Or maybe the plan is like, don't go back at all, We've had it like that in the past too, It ain't no shit. So if, if that's the case, you're going to want to approach things differently, right? And if we are going to, if we're going to um, be growing inside, I mean, there's a lot of ways to go about that too, So some of the people, they're like no-till people. They mix everything they want in that soil, and they'll inoculate with microbes, and that's about it, man. That's all that they're gonna do, which is fine. It's not my way, but it's fine. Um, you'll have some people who are kind of in the middle. They're gonna supplement teas, but maybe not a whole lot. That's fine too. Or maybe you got somebody like me who doesn't want to like load the soil down too much, and I want to be more in control of what I actually have going on, right? Maybe I grow a whole lot of different cultivars, right? And I just want to be able to kind of cater to different parts of the room and different parts of the bucket, or so that's yet another way of looking at things. So the way I'm mixing up my soil, you know, I like to have the same nutrients available from different aspects, right? So like you could take bone meal for existence, or existence example. Um, you got calcium and stuff in that too. Same with the oyster shell and a bunch of other things we could get into, rock dust and gypsum and all that. Um, they all break down at different rates and everything, and I like to keep it mixed up, keep it kind of various, but I also don't like to load it down either. And certain things I want to keep in my control. Now, there's there's a lot of different ways to go about it. You can buy certain products, like let's say we're talking about supplementing calcium. Um, Whoa, y'all hear that? Sucker is burning. Anyway, so like you might want to get a product, but you want to keep it organic. So like here's a little thing. Bob Hemphill turned me on to him like long, well, not super long time ago, but probably 5 years ago. Vital Landscaping, they're the shit. You can get their CalMag supplement, all organic. But let's say like you are, say you're like you're in a place like you probably shouldn't be what you're thinking about doing. You don't want to go to stores. You don't want to make any orders. You can go to the grocery store, find Brer Rabbit molasses. If you break it down with microbes and make it plain available, I mean that could be a nice little supplement. It's like I think it's 8% calcium, 8% magnesium, uh, 2% iron, stuff like that. So it makes it, definitely makes it pretty damn nice to have different options. A lot of the other supplements we use, we can absolutely go to the grocery store and make a lot of things or buy a lot of things, aloe water and coconut water, you want to use the coconut water as a enzyme and little cytokine source, then that's cool. You can do that. A lot of things you will find that are for sale in bottles already made are quite expensive. A lot of your sweeteners and stuff like that. Um, it's not always the best route or the easiest or the cheapest, but people do it because they just don't know any better. But as we as we're building our base, and like I said, there's a bunch of ways that we can do this. I like everything to be kind of even keeled across my NPK, and I do like having my micros available as well in the soil. But I don't want to load it up so much to where I don't know. I just feel like a lot of that stuff goes for a very, very long time and doesn't actually really need to be loaded up that much. And at the point that it does, and nowadays it's a great thing. You got people out there that'll do soil sample testing for you and all that good stuff. And it's a good time to be alive if you're growing weed and all. So you look at it from that respect as well. And then there's the part of like that fade, right? That good fade. Now that good fade, you'll see in hydroponics that, 14 days prior to finish, they're going to sit there and they're going to, uh, drastically reduce what's going into that reservoir to where it is going to go down to 100 parts per million or zero. A lot of people got different thoughts on that. But it fades out real good, it burns real good, and all that good shit. So you'll notice a lot of people with organics that their stuff stays green too long. Now, we got to think, well, why does it do what it do, right? Why is this plant still eating at the end of its cycle? Well, it's wanting to reproduce. It's going to want to go as long as it can. That's its whole goal, and eventually, not everything maybe, but most cases I've ever seen, you let anything go too long, she'll start shooting nanners out in that last ditch effort to reproduce, survive, So, that part, we can still control that, right? So we just got to think like, well, we got all this stuff in our soil, right? Now we've quit feeding teas, but we have stuff in our soil now. Why is it still eating? Well, microbes are still breaking stuff down. Those roots are still communicating with those microbes, saying, feed me, Seymour, feed me, and it's going to keep on doing its thing so long as microbes are there and present, doing their job, and things are there for these microbes to break down to make plant available for the plant to eat. So, what do we need to do? We can't go in the soil and say, hey, microbes, quit jocking my fucking shit. You're fucking me here. And you can't say, well, all right, soil, taking back all that good stuff I just gave you. That ain't gonna work out. So, what we need to do, we need to take the microbes off their job, right? So, how do we take microbes off their job? Well, microbes they're gonna take that path of least resistance too. Okay, they will eat things that you can offer them. So in my case, I like organic cane sugar. Now, if you feed them a couple good healthy doses of that, and like you're not breaking it down beforehand, you are going to take those microbes right off their job, and you're going to see that plant fade out real nice. And I also think those little carbohydrates and sugars also aid in finishing up, terpene, oil production, things like that, which is great. But we're gonna get a nice little fade going, and that's gonna really bring out your end product here. Now, what we have fed it up to this point will also dictate what our end product will look like. Now, if we're talking about organics, we're going to know like a few things like, oh, kelp is good. Sea kelp is good. Alfalfa is good. Now, when you say, your kelp, I'm thinking azothelium no sodium, the little organic PGR that's kind of making it do what it do. It's not the NPK that's, rocking out, right? So that's what's, giving these drastic results. Now, a newer person, like, anytime anybody sees anything, they see something good, they're like, oh, well, I want more good. So I'm going to keep going and keep going and keep going. Well, that's not good. Okay, you can go too far with like pretty much anything, Like hell, you can drink too much damn water even, and water's good for you. So now, if we look at what we're feeding, me personally, come day 28, day 30, I am not going to feed any more kelp or alfalfa. I don't want it hanging around. Now, when you see somebody, I always see the Korean farmer people and the the no-till guys, they catch fucking hell. They're like, oh yeah, your fucking shit smells like grass clippings and fucking hay. Well, some of that can be in the dry and the care and all that, but a lot of times, they got too much of that shit in the soil, for one. Two, a lot of people feed it in addition to that. And they do it way too late. They're up to like the last week. Like, yeah, let me give it another little tea. Yeah, a little alfalfa, kelp, guano, little boost. That ought to do it, and that's not good. Now, how do I know this? Well, like I did it. And I noticed like before I did it, I was fine. Then I tried it and it was better. So then, the next time, like, well, let me try a lot. And it was bad. It was very bad. It was the most harshest, burning, shitty weed I'd grown since I fucking started. So come day 30, we're gonna cut that out. Now, hopefully that will help to answer some of the questions people have, like, like how do you feed your dragonfly earth medicine? Well, I feed my dragonfly kind of like that because it has alfalfa and kelp in it. So I'm not trying to keep using those teas the whole way through. So you could safely say somewhere in week 5, I'm going to transition from that to just a normal bloom bat guano, preferably, which pretty much all of it is. It's derivative of fruit bats, which I think also will play a big part in terpene production, So, and that's something else we'll get into. Fruits, fruit juices, all these things. Like, it's also a good nutritional source, for the plant. Like you could break down We always joked around saying it was like toilet wine or whatever, which kind of is, but we're not adding yeast and making alcohol. But um, these, like bananas, there's a lot of potassium in that. So when you make that and feed it to the plant, like you are, you're feeding the plant. But these fruits, like terpenes just don't exist in fucking weed. Like they're in flowers and fruits and vegetables. Like they're there. Um, so the way I see it is like, yeah, you're gonna want to break down fruits and vegetables and juices and so on, and go ahead and feed it to the soil. So, um, you know, like mangoes, like most people know now, like yeah, you eat a mango, it's rich in myrcene and will enhance your high, right? So, like yeah, like let's do that. Like feed it to the plant. The way I see it, you're helping to increase terpene production. The other thing is like, what is a terpene? Like, how is this little molecular chain all well, the one thing that I gathered through my bit of research and learning is sulfur plays such a huge role in terpene production. So, um, if if I can, I am going to supplement. It's hot. Sulfur, to help complete these chains, these terpene chains, so I get a smellier product in the end. The other thing that I'm doing off of my baseline is, like I said, like the old Vic High mix and the evolution of that. You ended up with like this mix is like, oh yeah, we got alfalfa in it, we got everything up in there. Well, I started trying to get away from that mindset. It's like, well, I got the time. I can supplement this all on my own, I don't have to have everything in the soil. I can tune this my way. So, my best advice would be, yeah, maybe you just don't mix up the soil so fucking hot, and you kind of tune it like how a hydro grower would go week to week. Now, the part with organics is, you got to have a different mindset about it, and the things that you need to know: plant available and not plant available. Now, if you make something plant available, you're in the good. That's how the synthetics work. They are plant available. So when you feed it, plant can utilize it. No big deal. Now, if you feed it something, or like when people top dress, well, right away it's not plant available. It needs to get broken down and so on and so forth. That's why when we make a tea, we're brewing it. And me personally, I add microbes right along with it, and those microbes will assistify me in breaking down what's in that tea, furthermore making it plant available. So I take my weekly feeding like that, in that approach. I know about what it wants, each week. Um, Aside from that, we we got just a plethora of different shit that you could feed it, week to week. Some things that I'm big on, like, and it breaks down to like what's going on during that week. That's how I'm looking to facilitate this plant, because that's what this is all about. In the beginning, we don't really have a lot of resin production, where plants more focused on stretching, biomass production, So I'm more inclined to have more of an NPK mindset, and a focus on what facilitates these NPK values, like calcium facilitating the nitrogen uptake, right? Or magnesium facilitating phosphorus uptake. So I'm starting to take more that approach. Now, when we're in mid-flower, I start to, focus in on terpene production, and resin gland production, and the health of those and the quality of those, because like, let's face it, like that's what's important, right? Like that's what we're all about. Because if not, if we were just biomass guys or whatever, like we would just grow ditch fucking weed, hemp, okay, out in this fucking field, right? And that would be that, okay? But that's not it. We want the taste, we want the smell, we want effect, we want all these good things. So why not take the time to grow the glands as well as grow the plant? So we grow the biomass first, then, we're taking care of the resin glands and the resin productions. That, to me, that's where the juices come in, right? The fermented fruit, yeah? That's where, we're starting to switch gears, right? Now, I'm going to fast forward real quick, but, when we look at what we're doing, like, you can do everything right, everything perfect, but at the very end, you could, I got another beer here. You can really fuck all this up by not drying it right, not curing it, etc. You get people start wet trimming. They want to dry everything up in about 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Well, let me tell you, it's a good way to waste 90 to 120 days of your time, and I'm not really into that, So when I talk about the taking care of what we're trying to do here, I always felt that people they really disregard that part. They put all this money into these like really fancy, rooms, all automated and everything, and then they dry their weed in their fucking closet. $100,000 fucking dollar grow room, and they're drying in their fucking closet, like speed drying and shit, That's a whole nother conversation there. But I just feel like if, depending on what you need, like if you're a business professional and you just don't have the time to do things like that, like brews and teas and all that, well, maybe like the no-till approach is like going to be your thing. Maybe you just want to have everything in the soil. You don't want to feed shit, and you're just going to hit it with water, and that's that. And at the end, you can still do the sugar trick to get it to stop breaking down, right? You can still do that. But maybe that's your thing because you work 16-hour days, 7 days a week, etc. Or maybe you just got all the time in the world, or maybe you just make the time. All right. So we can do that. That's fine. But stick with what style will suit you, because that's what it's about. Some guy in SoCal and some guy in Portland, Oregon, another guy in Grants Pass, and another guy in Portland, Maine, for that matter. Well, they live different lives. There's different environments. Maybe they're outside. Maybe they're inside. Maybe one's got filthy rich investors. Maybe another guy's just growing in his basement. You can't just look at what the next guy says to do and do that, because that's not you. Look what's going to do you the best. And what are you looking for out of your experience in growing? Now, as far as that goes, that's going to dictate a lot on maybe how you're mixing your soil. Okay? Now, if we get down to the nitty-gritty of it, which probably everybody's like, oh, when you go fucking talk about your mix. Well, shut the fuck up. I'm getting to that. So, when I look at my mix, if I'm going to be outside, right, minimal me making contact with it, yeah, I'm going to make a hot-ass fucking mix where rainwater is going to take care of that. No big deal. Now, if I'm able, like nowadays, I live in Colorado. I don't have to worry about being hunted down like a fucking dog. So, well, maybe I can take my other approach to, I can come out the backyard every day and, water a tea or what have you. And that's great, you know. But maybe I need to make considerations like where I live now. It's like, it's fucking arid as shit. It's like fucking Afghanistan. So maybe, a little vermiculite in my holes will do me a little bit better. Let it retain. Now, other things to consider. Other things to consider. Maybe, you know, I, all right. So root zone temperature, plays a big part. Like all this is like crazy simple, but attention needs to be paid to certain things. Like if the root zone gets too hot or too cold, you're gonna suffer. So if you live in a nice place, like my buddy Crom, he was showing me his weather report for like down where he's living. There's not much differential between night and day and all that shit. So, pick up the phone. No, I will not pick up the phone. Don't you call me. You know who that is. I don't owe nobody nothing. If you're a bill collector, I don't want to buy any vape cards. I don't fucking vape. Okay, I don't want a vape pen. I don't want a vape cart. I don't want to buy any followers. I don't need any new shingles. I don't need aluminum fucking siding. Okay? Don't need nothing. Good. Real good. Alright. So, yes, no carts. No carts. Like, I swear to God, like, people like, oh, why don't you answer the DM? Like, yeah, man, you motherfuckers roll up in that DM, start answering that shit. And, some of them be like, it's like outright, it's a good question. Like, all right, boom, I hook it up, right? And then it's like, oh, yeah, well, you want to buy some followers? You want to buy some vape carts? Like, hell no. Fucking followers, man. Fucking vape carts. Like, it's always some bullshit. So, yeah, that ruined that. That really ruined that shit. Yeah, Russian wife, James. Yeah, I'm definitely good. Mm-hmm. I'll take care of that later. So, as we progress through, like, where we're like, all right, where are we, in our idea of what we're going to grow, there is 356 of you. I bet you I'll get 100 and something different variations, which means I would have to give out 100 different mixes, 100 different opinions on aeration, and that sucks to be me. But we can take one thing in common between all of us, and that common thing is start with the baseline, realizing there is such a thing as too much of a good thing, because there is, and taking things low and slow. So out of all the things I've grown in my life, I can actually say there's only, I don't know, handful of things I've ever grown that I can actually truly say are heavy eaters, because most of them are not. Most everything I've ever grown and my best success with such things, I fed them low, very low. So here's, just put your pretend hats on here and just imagine you're Uh, oh shit, there. Alright, so the little clock's counting down. So what I'm gonna do, I'll just re-kick this thing off. There's 357, so when 350 of y'all come back in, I'll keep it fucking